MHA Podcast. MHA Podcast.
MHA Podcast.
Hey, I am hosting this show, Quinn.
I'm sorry.
You are taking the words right out of my mouth. Todd's drooling at the mouth. Let me get you a tissue right here.
I'm worried that he's Nick Foles.
I see the word regression plastered all over his stats.
Well, and I cheated a little bit here.
You bastard, how could you? This is a cheat-free zone, a Tom Brady-free zone, and you're funking it up.
If I want to win a fantasy championship, I don't want my quarterback doing that crap.
Wow. Eddie Lacy's going to be great. How could you, in your right mind, in your sane mind, Eddie Lacy's going to be great?
I don't like doing it, but I'll agree with Todd. I totally disagree with Todd.
Especially with Quain. I hate drafting next to Quain. I'm just gonna have that bottle of tequila right next to me. See, people should be listening to the show just to strategize around us. Just 23 days before the first regular season NFL game kicks off, and we're excited to be here on the MHA podcast. So glad you're joining us as we talk running backs today. I'm your host, Eric Lansing, along with Mikey Renault and Todd Diamond. Guys, we've seen a couple of preseason games so far. We've seen some injuries, major suspension, even some trades, so a wild preseason so far. And as fantasy football players, how much are you guys looking at the preseason games? What are some of the things that you look for, whether it be in practice or during the games themselves? I mean, are you guys paying attention at all? Or you are just kind of going off your own rankings and your own magazines and so forth, Mikey?
A little bit of both. I got to say preseason is not entertaining at all. I mean,
no?
Yeah, it's not. I can't wait for the regular season to get here.
You don't get the same excitement as a regular NFL season game?
No, it's like because it's like first 5 minutes and then all the scrubs are in and it's like, it's gross.
Don't like the scrubs. Todd, how much are you paying attention to the ranking or the preseason?
I mean, the preseason, I do agree with Mikey. Preseason isn't as exciting because we know the games don't count. But you know, you kind of look in the second and third quarters of the games. You look for those sleeper picks or whatever. That's what I kind of look for. You know, especially wide receiver, running backs, whatever it is. And you can find the diamond in the rough kind of thing. So,
but you guys paying attention to the depth? Who's starting? Obviously, with these situations like New England or Cincinnati, where there's depth chart in those running backs. So you guys trying to see who's going to start? Does that play a factor to you guys, or is it just coaches throwing whatever to see if it sticks? Or I mean, is that something you're looking at? Are you starting to see if Joe Mixon is starting over Giovanni Bernard or Jeremy Hill or any other situation going on?
I mean, yeah, you are definitely looking at that stuff. I don't know after 4 preseason games if you're still going to know who the guy for New England is. Like, sure. They tend to use everybody, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it when the regular season starts. Who's actually, or the couple days before the season starts. Okay, when they get the final depth charts out, that's when I look at it, because in the preseason games, yeah, you can say, oh well, he's starting. Well, yeah, he could be starting the preseason game, but he could do something, in practice that the coaches don't like, and he's not starting starting the first game. So it's kind of a flip of a coin sometimes too.
Flip of a coin. That's how Todd's doing it this year.
Word.
That's how he does it every year.
Every year, flip of a coin. You have a special coin that you use.
You know what? I just get a quarter and just flip the coin. I just flip the quarter and see what happens.
Quick thought before we go on. Give me your quick thoughts about the Broncos. They played the Bears. Saw some good things, saw some bad things. Just give me one thing that stood out to you.
The fact the offensive line actually looked pretty decent.
Okay, Mikey.
I disagree with Todd already. Wow, this just shows
great show.
all those penalties. Didn't like all the penalties.
There's a lot of penalties.
Yeah, but the penalties
how about that running back Henderson though? He looked pretty slick.
Yeah, but the penalties were against the Bears though.
Our offensive line had like 10 penalties for holding.
Well, but I think but that was just a little bit of rust. But the penalties that usually the Broncos get during the regular season, the Bears were getting. So that was a good sign. They were fixing that part.
Sounds like you're making excuses, Todd.
Mikey, I always make excuses, but I'm just saying it looked a little bit better than it did last year. So.
All right, so that's the Bronco talk, and now let's tell you what's coming up on today's show. As we mentioned, the running backs previews, and we're going to shake it up a little bit. We're not going to just go balls to the wall and just talk as much as we can. We're actually going to play some games. You guys excited for some games?
I like games. I like Monopoly. I like Scrabble. I like Sorry.
I don't know if we're doing those types of games, but it'll be fun. Don't worry. I promise you it's going to be fun. Also on the show, we'll go over some potential names for G's team.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys brought a couple of ideas. It was definitely harder than I thought to try to find some names. So we'll see if any of them stick. And obviously G finished last place. Anytime you finish last place, you get your name changed. So we'll see how that goes. So before we get into all this fun running back talk, we're going to talk about some news. And there was plenty of it.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Extra, extra, read all about it.
And I don't even know if we'll get to all of them since there's a lot to talk about. But obviously the biggest news, and since we're talking about running backs, this will be the first thing that comes up, is, of course, the suspension on Ezekiel Elliott. 6 games has been handed out due to his domestic violence incident that took place in 2016. The NFL said that 6 games would be the first offense punishment. And then so far they've held true to that. Elliott has officially appealed those 6 games, so we'll see if they're going to be reduced. So, guys, I have a couple of questions for you, and we'll start with Mikey. We're not here to talk about the morality if you're going to take a guy because he hits women. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about fantasy value, so I don't want that to kind of be in this conversation. But let's say that it's 6 games. Let's say he appeals, which he did, and they say 6 games. Should Elliott be drafted in the first round?
No.
Not at all, huh?
No, not 6 games. I mean, plus a bye week included. It's a little too risky for a first-round pick. Second round, third round? Sure.
Late second round then? Or, I mean, let's say you're at the beginning of the second round. You take A.J. Green as your first pick, and you go in the second round, and maybe you're thinking between Jordan Howard and Ezekiel Elliott. You still going to go Howard?
How am I supposed to answer that question? I am picking at the beginning of the second round.
Well, see, there you go. I need to know what you're doing so I can prepare.
See, I don't know if I'm comfortable giving away that kind of intel.
Fine. But so you're saying if he's there, you're going to think hard about it.
I think hard about everything. I'll give you that much.
You're not answering my question.
Yeah.
So he's not going to give much away. All right, let me ask you this. If it's reduced down to 4 games.
Makes it more appealing. I'll tell you that much.
Is it first round? If it's only 4 games?
It would be in consideration.
Okay. Now, Todd was saying last time on the show that he was thinking about taking Ezekiel Elliott with his number 2 overall pick. 6 games. Let's say it's 6 games. Are you still going to take him there?
No, it's too many. That's 6 games is too many. Is too much. I mean, if it was only like 2 or 3, I'd probably still take him at 2. But 6 games, that's too much. I mean, I really would have to hit on my other running backs to cover those 6 games, because if I'm expecting Elliott to be what he was last year, because last year he went in the middle of the second round, obviously was a rookie and really didn't know what he was going to do, but 6 games, that's too much. And so if anything, second or third round is where.
So if Elliott is, so you have the second overall pick, which means you also have the 23rd. Is that right? He'd have the 23rd pick, the second to last pick in the second round. If Elliott's still there, would you take him?
If Elliott's still there, no.
No, you still think that's all right. So what about the turnaround? Because you'd have 3 picks later.
If I got
2 picks would go by, then you'd have it again.
If he was in the third round, then I'd probably take him in the third round.
Okay. So just for the audience's knowledge, we have a 13-game regular season, and so 6 games is almost half of that. Not to mention a bye week, which I think is in week 7. So technically, you wouldn't have Ezekiel Elliott for 7 weeks.
Yeah, and that's
a long time,
and that's why I wouldn't take him at number 2. Like if I got him in the third round, and if I if my team was doing really well up to that point, and knowing I was getting him back after that bye week, then I'd be okay with it. But at number 2 right now with those 6 games, that's too much of a risk. That's too much, because if for some reason my team sucks, God help me, because I don't think Elliott could, when he comes back, would be able to, get me back into it, no matter depending on how my team was. So Elliott kind of dug himself a hole that is going to affect fantasy football. So not at the number 2 pick. It's going to be somebody else. So
let me ask you this: with Zeke, and depending on where he's drafted, how much does Darren McFadden move up in your rankings if you get him for 7 games? Did he move up in your rankings when you kind of went through it, Mikey?
He moved up a little bit. I have to say I got to watch this play out in the preseason, only because looking at the year before, Alfred Morris is going to be involved somehow.
Sure.
With that.
And he's looked okay in at least the one preseason game I saw.
Yeah, he has. And so he's went up a little bit, and I think if I were to draft Elliott or anybody else were to draft Elliott, it's a good idea to go ahead and handcuff him with McFadden.
So I guess, and that's also, this question kind of came in my mind too, is, and Todd kind of brought it up. Would you take Zeke in the second or third round if you felt you could draft quality or depth at running back? Like, you'd have to think we were talking about this before. It's not running backs are not a deep position. You have a couple of elite guys, you have a couple of guys that are manageable, good, and then a bunch of crap after that. And so if you're going to take Zeke, you are handcuffing yourself for about 7 weeks and have to put someone else in that place.
Yeah.
And so you got to be able to hit past that. If you're talking the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th rounds, are you going to – so let's say you guys took Zeke in the second round. Let's just say you did it. How much are you stacking running backs now? I mean, if they stink, you're going to have to take more. It's almost the Bill Belichick where it's more quantity over quality, and you hope somebody hits, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because they ain't a dime a dozen. Right, Todd?
Word. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much going to have to just after drafting Ezekiel Elliott and then potentially getting Darren McFadden, after that you'd have to just draft running backs for the next 2 or 3 rounds before you even think about a wide receiver. Just knowing how good Ezekiel Elliott really is, and knowing how it would affect your team, knowing he's gone for 6 games, you better have some good depth behind Ezekiel Elliott running backs, and that's to some degree why you just draft all the Patriots running backs and just hope one of them stick, because at least you know.
Well, then you're drafting like 4 New England running backs, right?
True, and then at least
that's probably a little bit too much of a situation.
Well, maybe 2 or 3. I exaggerated. Maybe.
Let me ask you this: Where do you need to take McFadden if you take Ezekiel Elliott? Because you have to take him maybe 2 rounds before, because someone's going to see it. Someone's going to see McFadden and be like, 7 weeks behind that great offensive line. He's not going to put up Zeke numbers, but he's going to put up manageable numbers. So, I mean, we talking 7th round, 8th round? I'm not saying he should go there. That's not my question. My question is, if you get Zeke and McFadden is your priority, you're going to have to draft him 2 rounds higher than you think someone else is going to take him, or you think that you should think in general. So if you think the mass public should take him in the 8th round, you need to take him in the 6th just to be safe.
I'd have to get him in the 5th just to be safe. Even though that's probably reaching, and you probably get people around going, "What are you doing?" But 5th round just to be on the safe side, just to guarantee.
See, and I don't. There are some situations that are out there where you wouldn't necessarily have to take Darren McFadden. That's why I wouldn't necessarily say 5th, because I could wait till round maybe 7 or possibly 8, and I can pick up a Jacquizz Rodgers who's filling in for a suspended Doug Martin,
right?
And that would be okay too. So I mean, you don't have to get him, and I'm not willing to overreach to do it, because I don't think there's any way I could do 5th round for him. But that's me.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's just something to think about, because I think people in our league panic. Maybe they do their research, and they're going to see. It's no secret that Ezekiel Elliott's suspended.
No.
So, but I think people are not going to be prepared. We just have owners that are that way, and they're going to be like, "Well, I don't know. Maybe I should pick Darren McFadden," or if I'm just going through my list and they start to panic, maybe they take him over like Spencer Ware or Tevin Coleman or Frank Gore. And those guys are going in the 5th or 6th round. And so they say, wow, Darren McFadden, I'm going to have him for 7 weeks. If they do their homework, maybe they say 6. But they're going to realize that he's going to be productive, and he's going to go early. So that's just something to think about. Let's keep going with the news, because we have a lot of news, and we're not going to talk about all of these news issues. If you guys want to say something, chime in, but I'm just going to try to go through these pretty quick so we can get into the running back discussion. Speaking of another running back, Jay Ajayi, diagnosed with a concussion 2 weeks ago, still dealing with the concussion symptoms, which is keeping him out of practice. Obviously, that's a little scary in that regard. Ajayi, kind of a second-round pick, depending on how much you favor him.
Not in my world.
No, you don't like Jay Ajayi. Okay, well, we'll talk about that a little bit as we go along. Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard avoided a big blow. It looked like he was out for the season after crying and being carted off. Looks like it's a minor ankle issue. He says he's going to be ready by week 1. That's exciting for me, who just loves Brandon Marshall. So he'll get more reps in practice. He moves up a little bit in my rankings. Will Fuller, one of those guys Todd had to have for me last year. Broken collarbone, out 6 to 8 weeks. He'll be back in the regular season, but we'll see when that occurs. So more targets for DeAndre Hopkins, which is always good if you're a Hopkins fan. Obviously, a big news note for sure is Tannehill out for the season. Jay Cutler in with the Miami Dolphins. We won't talk too much about Jay Cutler. We'll talk about him on our quarterback show, which will be the next show. We're going to lump quarterbacks and tight ends into one episode. I'm going to ask you guys a question. I just want a one-answer word from you. Okay? So, will Cutler make Miami's offense better? Yes, no, or push? And push meaning he would have done the same stuff Tannehill would have done. So what is it, Mikey?
Push, but in a different way.
Quickly explain.
I think it changes Miami's offense a little bit. Cutler's more of a guy that likes to feature throws to the running backs and tight ends, whereas Tannehill got, Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills involved. So I think, and we can talk about this the next podcast, but I think it makes Julius Thomas a sleeper.
Interesting. Yes, no, push.
Yes, to some degree, because he'll be able to throw the deep ball a little bit better than Tannehill.
Okay. Another note: Cardinals wide receiver John Brown dealing with a quadriceps injury. Hasn't practiced very much. Hasn't played in any preseason games yet, so keep an eye on that. Jets wideout Quincy Nunwa out for the season. Lucky for him, he doesn't have to go through that year with the Jets. Dealing with a bulging disc that will keep him out for 9 months or so. Robbie Anderson steps up. That's exciting. One of my guys that I like, Dante Moncrief, sprained AC joint in his shoulder, which is not a big deal for some, but he's dealt with shoulder injuries in the past. He's still not practicing. And some recent news, we have a couple recent news. Devonta Freeman in the concussion protocol, something to keep an eye on. And some news today, breaking news, Ryan Matthews has been cut. He is healthy, apparently, so keep an eye on where he might go. Wow, Ryan Matthews, Mikey's favorite. And we'll talk about LeGarrette Blount in this episode, who's now kind of more of the feature back now, you have to say, in Philadelphia. So let's get into this running backs talk. Let's see. We talked a lot about rookies in the first show. So if you want to learn more about what we said about Leonard Fournette, Joe Mixon, those types of guys, we talked a lot about them on the first show. So check out the archive. We've sent them in your emails. You could definitely check those out. So we may not talk about those guys as much. Maybe they come up. But most of this is going to be guys we really haven't talked a lot about. Let's see. So you guys ready for the first game? And I don't know how much you guys have played it. Usually when you're on your long road trips, these types of games comes up. But the first game is Would You Rather? And so my example for that for Todd here is who would you rather? Would you rather have make out with Martavis Bryant or dry hump Danny Woodhead? So that's kind of like, who would you rather?
Yeah.
You going to give me an answer, Todd?
No.
No, he's not going to give me an answer. Okay. So that's how this game is going to go. So question number 1, and we'll start with Todd, since I just berated him with his man love for a couple of players.
Word.
Todd, would you rather draft Devonta Freeman first or Melvin Gordon first? So who's higher in your rankings?
Freeman, because he can catch the ball. And this is a PPR league, so hey, runs, catches, everything. So that's what you want in a running back, especially in that offense. How much they throw the ball around. So I will Devonta Freeman first.
So
I have him ranked number 5 in my rankings.
5 over. So where do you have Melvin Gordon in your rankings?
I have Melvin Gordon number 9.
Okay. All right. Mikey?
It's close, but I agree with Todd. Devonta Freeman, I have him ranked 3rd on my list. I have Melvin Gordon ranked as number 6. So it's pretty close, but I'm always a sucker for PPR guys. I think there's more guarantees coming from Freeman than I could see from Gordon.
Okay. All right. Did you tell us who you rank, where you have those guys ranked currently?
Yeah, so Freeman 3rd, Gordon 6th.
Freeman 3rd.
Correct.
3rd.
Correct.
So obviously, I'm assuming the first two is Le'Veon and David Johnson. Not in that order. I'm assuming David Johnson's first. But so you have Freeman. So I have him fourth. So you have him over LaShawn McCoy.
Yes.
Okay. And so will you tell us how far Ezekiel Elliott fell in your list?
Yeah, I have Elliott 7th.
7th. Okay, so not too far. All right. So I also went with Freeman. Obviously, the catches are a big thing. The thing I will say about Gordon is Gordon's going to get more carries. I mean, if he stays, he's dealt with a couple injuries. He's missed a couple games the last 2 years. If he stays healthy, which is obviously suspect, I think his carries and totals are going to go up. I think his running back totals could go up. He's still young, still learning how to do that. Freeman had 73 receptions 2 years ago, so his reception ceiling is way higher, of course. So the one thing I also say is Tevin Coleman in the back pocket, or Brandon, who's the backup over there?
Brandon Oliver.
Thank you, Brandon Oliver. So I think we all agree that Freeman should be over Melvin Gordon. Although it was close, it's one I kind of went back and forth on. I like the chance that Gordon gets 300 carries. There's not a lot of running backs that do that, but the injuries and I think kind of just take me a step back. But it's real close. I think I have them 4 or 5. They're 4 or 5 in my rankings. All right, so we'll start with Mikey. Mikey, who would you rather own? Would you rather own Jay Ajayi or Leonard Fournette?
I have Leonard Fournette.
Didn't even blink.
No.
Didn't even blink.
No.
You kind of gave us a little preview that you're not a big Jay Ajayi guy. So tell us why you would rather own Leonard Fournette.
I just think there's going to be more opportunity for Fournette. Jay Ajayi, going through his numbers, I don't understand why he's being ranked so high in a lot of these mock drafts I see. Some people have him first round, some people have him second round, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. He had 3 200-yard games, which is incredible.
Exactly.
Which is incredible. But hear me out.
Okay.
Because if you take those 3 games out of his season,
Okay.
he basically had 13 games that weren't worth a damn.
Now, 50 or 60 yards is not worth a damn.
No.
I mean, it is not bad.
No.
I'm not saying it's great.
You want to know
But
how
if you're talking about a guy that's getting 50 or 60 yards and a couple of catches, you're still close to like 7, 8 points.
I did the math.
It's not garbage.
You're talking about a guy that, without those 3 games, was averaging 9 fantasy points a game. That's it.
Okay. I mean,
So
it's not first round worthy.
It's not third round worthy.
Oh, I don't. Didn't we just have this conversation that rookie running backs aren't great? But if you're talking about a guy that's getting close to double figures,
I mean,
that's not terrible.
I mean,
It's not.
And he was also a rookie.
It ain't terrible,
He's
but it
also
ain't
a rookie.
first or second round.
Yeah.
I mean, he can get better.
No, this is his third year.
Third, okay, well, fine, third year quotations, but
So would it have mattered with well, I guess with Fournette though, that if he went to if he went to the Cowboys and ran,
we're not doing that game, Todd.
I know we're not doing that game.
That's
but
like saying, well, if you went and played for the Dallas Cowboys, would you be a good running back? He's with the Jaguars. That's what we're talking about right now.
Well, I understand that, but I wouldn't pick Fournette, but
Well, I mean that's. So tell us who you take, and we'll just
Jay Ajayi.
Okay, and tell us why you would take him over Fournette.
A little bit more proven. He at least he showed. Obviously, I know.
Hey, he doesn't get to play Buffalo every week.
I understand that, but at least proven, and I think they're going to lean on him a little bit more, just because they don't want to put too much pressure on Jay Cutler, and obviously he catches passes. He catches passes. Leonard Fournette not quite there. Leonard Fournette's not really known. Even when he was in college, really known for.
No, we're going to have this conversation because I want you to look at how many catches he got, Todd. Don't tell me that Jay Ajayi catches passes because he doesn't. He does not.
He probably catches more than what Leonard Fournette probably would.
They put that Williams guy in on third downs to specifically catch passes because Jay Ajayi doesn't catch passes.
But maybe now obviously Jay Cutler's not the greatest quarterback of all time, but more experience, and maybe it'll open it up a little bit more. So
Jay Ajayi had 27 receptions last year.
Woo.
So not on the higher side. Usually the average is probably between 35 and 45 if I had to make my own guesstimate type of there. Obviously, Jay Ajayi is dealing with a concussion, and it's been a couple weeks now, so I think that plays a huge factor. I also took Fournette, although I haven't moved him up in my rankings as such, so I didn't go back and change that. But I picked Leonard Fournette. The opportunities, like Mikey said, is huge. I think Leonard Fournette has the ability to be a good pass catcher. They didn't do it a lot because they ran more than they passed over there, and plus he was injured a lot too. But he has taken a couple of passes to the house in LSU. I've seen it a couple times. I mean, for a guy that kind of followed him just because I had him on another fantasy league and just kind of followed him through his career. He has the options, but I think Fournette is going to get every opportunity. He doesn't have a lot of people. I mean, you can talk about the two guys that are over there and TJ Yeldon and Chris Ivory, but they had their opportunity.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, you're not going to, and I wish I had the stat in front of me, but there was a stat that talks about the last decade of running backs drafted in the top 10, and they were all guys that were just fed the ball, had over 1,000 yards, and had between 7 and 10 touchdowns. Because when you're drafting that high, you're relying on this guy so much. I'd have to go and see. I have it somewhere, and I couldn't find it. But the list, I mean, obviously Zeke's on that list as well. And so I'm not saying he's going to do what Zeke's going to do, but I think Leonard Fournette, his ceiling is higher. Ajayi would be safe. If he's 100% and he's ready to go, I might slip Ajayi above him just because he's more familiar. He does have that big game ability. And you never know. Fournette is dealing with an injury right now. Yeah. He's dealing with an injury exactly right now. And that's been the problem with college. Is that he dealt with injuries, and so it's a tough situation. I mean, I have them right next to each other, so take that for what it's worth. So we'll move along here. So Todd, would you rather take a chance on injury-prone Danny Woodhead or on injury-prone C.J. Anderson?
Oh, this one's a tough one because both of them just can get injured just walking outside. I'd probably go. I have C.J. Anderson ranked higher than Danny Woodhead just because C.J. hasn't been injured very much in his career a lot. Danny Woodhead's been injured more, so I'd probably go C.J. Anderson just because. I think the Broncos can be more careful with CJ than they can with Danny Woodhead because obviously the running back situation in Baltimore isn't really great, and I think they're going to have to depend more on Danny Woodhead, and I think that might open more injury situations to him. So I'd probably pick CJ, knowing he's going to start day one. Now I'm saying I wouldn't draft Danny Woodhead, but I wouldn't draft him above C.J. Anderson.
Well, that was the question. Good job.
No problem. You
kind of went a roundabout way there at the end, but that's right. I mean, who would you draft first? I mean, who's higher in your rankings?
Yeah.
What do you say, Mikey? Who would you rather have between those injury-prone players?
Well, I have to tell you, I found this one super interesting because I had them ranked right next to each other in my rankings. So I had C.J. Anderson ranked at 14th. I had Danny Woodhead ranked at 15th.
Wow, that's exactly where I have him.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so close because the only reason I bumped CJ up over him was because, despite what I said earlier, I am optimistic that the Broncos are going to try and run the ball a little bit more and that their offensive line will be a little bit better. So I think that's going to give more opportunities to CJ. But, I'm a PPR guy, and so I love Danny Woodhead as well. And being in that Baltimore offense where they love the running back, he's going to get his share of targets where he can, if he's healthy, can be up there near, 80 catches. So that's got me excited too.
I'll say the injury that you didn't mention was Joe Flacco's injury. If this ends up being a lingering injury, that scares me a ton. Because, I mean, we talked about this offense being the highest, they throw more than anybody else, but if it's not Flacco, I don't think I'm going to be super excited. If Flacco's 100%, I may move Danny Woodhead above C.J. Anderson just for the PPR aspect because I'm not in love with their wide receivers, which I think Danny Woodhead – well, I think Terrence West will get the first couple of carries. He'll get the goal line carries. I think they are going to feature Woodhead. They brought him over. They paid him money. So I think that's going to be huge. So if Flacco's 100%, I'd probably move Danny Woodhead a little bit. C.J. Anderson was kind of solid before he got hurt last year. I had him, so I kind of felt kind of the ups and downs. He had 8 points or more in 6 of 7 games he played in. He had obviously he's got the best opportunity to be the number one guy.
Yeah.
Where I think Terrence West is the number one guy now, no matter what happens injury-wise between either one of them. So
He's Terrence West. I mean, he's going to get the carries, but honestly, I think looking at it, Woodhead's underrated as like his ability to be able to get the ball into the end zone from inside.
I think you're right, but he's also 32.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're going to get for him to be as fragile as he's been. I think they're going to Terrence West. They're going to give it to him first. I'm not saying they're not going to give him opportunities.
I wouldn't.
Well, well, let's call it Baltimore right now. I mean, you talk about Denny Woodhead, who played in 3 games in 2014, played in every game in 2015, and played in 2 games. And a lot of that's going to happen. You know, you're going to get beat up going through the tackles trying to get those goal line carries. So I think Terrence West is going to get those. But if you're talking about PPR and if Joe Flacco's healthy, I think, yes, between 60 and 70 is definitely easily attainable.
Yeah, because I think too they're not going to want to run Danny Woodhead through the tackles because that's just asking for.
So you're just repeating what I'm saying right now?
No.
Didn't I just say that if he goes to the tackles he's going to get hurt? Didn't I just say that?
You're not.
Didn't I just say that? Is he repeating me?
I think he's giving you a compliment.
No, I don't think he is. I think he's ignoring what I'm trying to say. He's like, no, Eric didn't say that. Are you ready for the next one?
I can't wait.
Todd, who would you rather draft first? Mark Ingram or Mark Gillislee?
Mark Ingram, because we know with the Patriots backfield, there's just a whole slew of them, and Mark Ingram's still the number 1 guy, even though they brought in Adrian Peterson. But I draft Mark Ingram first.
Mikey, who would you rather draft first?
Yeah, it's Mark Ingram. It's not even close.
Not even close. Okay, so tell me where you have Ingram and where you have Gillislee.
Ingram, I have number 18.
Goodness gracious.
And Gillislee, I have
come on.
number 40.
40? You're insane. All this, oh my God. I thought you were the one that was kind of pulling for him being the next LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah.
You were kind of saying that, and that is ridiculous if you're talking about 40.
There's too many toys.
He could not run for 500 yards, but if he gets 10 touchdowns, that's better than 40. Okay, explain yourself.
You don't know if it's going to be him. Maybe it's Rex Burkhead. Who knows?
He's got a point there.
So at the time of this show, because I don't know, and I've been hearing things at practice that he's been running like with the 3rd team. So that's not good either.
Okay.
Burkhead and James White in front of him. So I don't like that. So, I have more trust in Ingram and his floor and his sustainability. You know, at least with Ingram and even with Adrian Peterson in the background, I still think Ingram can be a double-digit guy every week. I don't think you're going to get that from
Is double-digit good enough for you? Because it sounded like before it wasn't good enough for you.
9 is not double digits.
It needs to be what, 15 or 16 to be 9th? Oh, you're saying 9 is not good, 9 points?
Right.
That's so close. Splitting hairs. Okay, so tell me who you for Gillislee. Who's at number 39 and 41?
Okay, so 41's Paul Perkins.
Jesus. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't like Paul Perkins.
Apparently not. Starting running back.
Yeah.
That means you have backup running backs ahead of Paul Perkins.
Possibly.
That's insane. Anyways, who was the other guy? Who was ahead of him?
39, Terrence West.
Good gravy, man. We should just go through your whole list. That's what this show should be about.
It should.
So, you must have backup guys ahead of them.
Well, yeah, there are some backups that are better.
Oh, my goodness. You know this thing called opportunities and carries?
Yeah. Well, if you suck, it's not always a good thing.
No, but there's this thing called volume, too.
All right. Well, when Paul Perkins ends up on your team and you're complaining why he's sucking, don't complain.
I think we have a Paul Perkins game, so we'll come back to Paul Perkins. Okay. I mean, I agree. I have Mark Ingram 13th, but I have Gillislee 18th. So it's only 5 spots. I don't think Adrian Peterson's going to come in and just take away all the carries. He's obviously very familiar with the system. As long as he doesn't fumble the ball and stay healthy, he has an easy. He's going to get the first goal line chances. Last year, he averaged a career-high 5.1 yards per carry. 46 catches last year, 50 the year before. Hightower obviously took some touches away, and he still finished 9th in our scoring system. He did have 4 catching touchdowns, which is probably not going to reach that number. That's definitely a career high for him. So I think his number's going down a little bit in that regard. Obviously, Gillislee is what's he going to do? I mean, if he comes in and be like Garrett Blount and get 8 to 10 touchdowns, that's pretty awesome. Now, you're right. It could be Rex Burkhead one week. It could be Deion Lewis the next week. It could be James White the next week. But we'll see how it goes in preseason and all that stuff. But it sounds like he's going to get the first carries, but we'll see. I mean, in the first 2 years, 5.7 yards per carry. And so for he's out of all of those running backs, he's more of the typical 3-down, not first two down running back. Where James White's a pass catching guy, Deion Lewis is smaller. Well, they tried to feature him a couple of years ago, and obviously he was injury prone from that. I mean, Rex Burkhead maybe is kind of that guy can be the first, second down type of running back. But I think Gillislee is by far kind of the guy. Now, the thing I'll say against him is that he's had 101 carries last year, and that's a career high. But he's still a young guy, so I don't know. But man, 40th?
I can't see myself putting him in my lineup every week and be, like, okay with it.
Why? LeGarrette Blount did the same thing last year.
Yeah, they have more. They've
Like
got
that,
more
I mean,
guys.
the risk is high. I mean, the risk is high, and the reward is high.
Like,
But if you're talking about taking a chance on a guy that's in the top 20 of your running back rankings.
but you're counting on a lot of things. There's a reason why LeGarrette Blount got that much activity. So they didn't have Brandon Cooks last year, which that's another added weapon that they have now. If Gronk stays healthy, that's another added weapon in the red zone.
But they're not going to abandon the run. That's what they like to do. They run the ball. And how many times do we watch games and they get to the 1 yard line?
Yeah, that's true.
All the time. This team's going to score 40 points a game. So it's not like they're not going to have an opportunity to run the ball. Even if they get a touchdown to Edelman, Cooks, Gronk every week, there's still like 3 other touchdowns they can still feature.
They better score 40 to 50 points because that's the
And
only
they
way
will.
that's working.
People, all I've been hearing in this offseason so far in this preseason is that they have the best weapons of anybody in the NFL and probably the best in Tom Brady's career.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe next.
So, I mean, it looks, and come on, look at the rest of the division. They're going to just run roughshod over that shitty-ass division. That's shit. The devil lives in New England.
I'm not saying it can't. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I play more in the world of safe.
40th. Wow. Okay, let's move on. Who would you rather? Is it Todd's turn this time?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. No, it's Mikey's
No,
turn.
Mikey's.
So, Todd, Mikey, who would you rather have, Tevin Coleman or Derrick Henry?
Not close. Tevin
All
Coleman.
right. Do you have him 18th?
18th? No, I told you I had Mark Ingram 18th.
So, all right. So, tell us why Coleman over Henry.
It's easy. He's a PPR guy.
Look, hey, wait a minute. Don't be like, it's easy. Just tell me the answer. All right, you don't have to give me these extra little adjectives and verbs in there. It may be easy for you in your eyes, but that's why we're asking you.
Better offense, more opportunity, open shut book. I mean, Derrick Henry. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not close.
And that's it for you? That's all you have?
That's all you need to know.
Let me tell you the reason why it's not as clear. I agree. Coleman, if I'm supposed to draft someone first, it's going to be Coleman. But guess what? DeMarco Murray is old as shit. And it just takes one little injury, and Derrick Henry is in the run-first offense with a great offensive line and a quarterback that prefers to hand off and throw.
Well, if that's what you think, and you want to draft Derrick Henry high, and be
I'm not saying I'm taking him over
disappointed-
Coleman. I'm just giving you a reason why that I don't think it's as clear-cut.
Oh, it's clear cut.
In your easy world, yes, where you have crazy rankings over there. But I agree. Coleman, I'm like I said, I have them pretty close to, not right next to each other, but pretty close. Coleman also does a very good job catching the ball. He's a fantastic athlete. No doubt about it. We've seen him make some incredible plays. But the offense, the thing that helps this argument that's new is that Devonta Freeman's hurt. And if Freeman's hurt, then obviously Coleman's going to jump in. So that helps him in this regard at this current moment in time. But let's say Freeman is 100% healthy. Then Coleman obviously is going to take the step back. But there's opportunities for him to catch the ball, be a great athlete, get the goal line carries every once in a while. What do you have, like 8 touchdowns last year? I'd have to find that number off the top on my sheet here. But, man, Derrick Henry could come in, and he's effective when he's been given opportunities. He comes in. Now, the thing that changes that's different is the scoring opportunities, depending on how this year works out. If you go by last year's team, obviously Atlanta was a great scoring offense. They had all kinds of great opportunities. Tennessee's an up-and-coming team. They're going to score more, but they're also going to run first than they are going to pass. And I think that favors Henry more than that favors Coleman. Now, the thing that we talked about last time on the show is Steve Sarkisian's in, and they like to run the ball more than pass. So maybe that brings their offense down a little bit, and that kind of even things up between, maybe not 100%, but I think the opportunities come down for them, and the opportunities go up a little bit for Tennessee.
I'm not convinced.
Golly, you can't. Todd, what do you think? I'm tired of talking to Mike.
What do I
know I'm
think?
going to be tired of what you say, and I'm going to have to go back to Mikey, but what do you think?
Probably. I'd actually go with Henry. Now, just because I think in Atlanta...
I'm making my trophy right now.
Oh, dear Lord.
You're going to have to make it because you ain't earning it.
Yeah, right.
You have to build your own. Those crazy rankings. Go ahead.
But I do agree with you, though, Eric, the fact that, DeMarco Murray, one injury, he's done. Derrick Henry's in, automatic. That's it, because there's nobody behind Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry's like, my job is safe. So I just think with Coleman, I don't know. I think Freeman's going to be that full time running back, and I think Coleman eventually, as much as they want to do split carries, I know we're in the NFL now of multiple running backs, but Henry just knowing the opportunity that it's that they're going to run the ball, I'd pick Henry. I pick Henry. Now I have Henry ranked pretty low, number 43, but that's just because we don't know yet. Obviously DeMarco Murray's not hurt. So right now, because I have DeMarco Murray ranked number 7. So I'd go with Henry.
Okay. So we're pretty split. Both of them ran for 4.5 yards per carry last year. And just kind of looking up their stats. Once I get my screen back up here. Henry, 110 attempts, 490 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns, 13 carries. Coleman had 32 carries, 8 touchdowns, and had 520 yards, 118 attempts. So the touchdowns, a lot more for Coleman in that high-paced offense from last year. And we have just a couple more. Who would you rather, Todd? Who would you rather rely on, Frank Gore or Paul Perkins?
Frank Gore.
Okay.
God, the dude's past his 30s and still runs like he's in his 20s. This year, especially with Andrew Luck, looking like he might be ready for the regular season, and other days it's like, they might keep him out, and at that point, Frank Gore would be the almost be automatic. So I'd go with Frank Gore. I'd rely on him. And with Paul Perkins, it's just because now look at that Giants offense. I mean, you have every wide receiver in the whole world now in that offense. So opportunities, for Eli to throw the ball a little bit more, that might deter a little bit from the running game. At least in Indianapolis, they're gonna want to run the ball, plain and simple. I think even with Andrew Luck there, because we've seen Andrew Luck get injury prone. So Frank Gore, I mean, he's still got it. So I'd rely on Frank Gore.
All right. Do you agree?
I agree. Frank Gore's he's not exciting.
So he's ranked,
but he's not going to screw you either.
So he's ranked 50th in your rankings then?
No, actually, I've got him at 28.
Okay.
So, shut up. Yeah, not exciting, not going to screw you. He's just solid.
Yeah.
As opposed to Paul Perkins, who I don't like at all. So,
well, yeah, you don't even have him ranked, right?
Yeah, I do. I told you I have him ranked 41st. Okay.
Okay. All right. So, are you guys not worried about Robert Turbin, who's got a little preseason pub here in the early going? Obviously, they drafted a guy, I believe, in the 4th round in Marlon Mack. Any worries about those guys?
No.
Yeah, I mean, just because of Frank Gore's age, yeah.
Okay.
But I would trust him more than I would trust Paul Perkins. Giants have a bad offensive line to start with, so that's not going to help them. But they also added Brandon Marshall and Evan Ingram, so if those guys are supposed to be big-time red zone threats, I think that hurts Mr. Paul Perkins.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will say, I'm not a big Paul Perkins enthusiast, but he's still only in his 2nd year. If they do get to the 1, he's the one getting the carries.
I don't know. You've watched enough Eli to know that they throw the ball a ton inside the 10.
They do. They do.
A ton.
They do, but you can't abandon the run. I mean, if you want to win games, I'm not saying they're not. I mean, they may abandon the run because they want to throw it. But I think if you win games, you got to be able to run at least a little bit.
I don't know.
At least a little bit.
But the other thing I've heard is like they're still trying to involve Shane Vereen.
Yeah,
So
that isn't scary. But I mean, he's there. He's there. He's supposed to be a pass catching back. So we'll see. I mean, for me, I've kind of gone back and forth. It's been tough just because, for Frank Gore, 3.9 yards per carry, just 2 100-yard games last year. But he was steady, 6 to 9 points a week. So he's not going to win you. He's not going to lose you any games. Perkins, free agency fodder for last year. You saw him on the free agency on the website all the time. Let's see. He was. I know there was a lot of talk of him playing hurt, fell out of favor. At least towards the end of the year, recording 4 carries or less in the last 4 games he played in. But he was also out for the rest of the season with an injury. Who knows how much that played a factor in everything? Rashad Jennings is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not exciting, but at least he's gone.
So
he was the one taking all the carries away from him.
So you replace Rashad Jennings with Rashad Jennings? Is that what you're telling me?
Maybe. But if you're getting 16 games out of a starting running back, you're going to get something.
Okay.
And I mentioned Shane Vereen, mostly just a scat back, but so we'll see. I mean, it's not the sexiest position. It's not sexy to talk about. Maybe this is sexy. Maybe you guys can tell me this is sexy. Mikey, would you rather draft Spencer Ware for now or Kareem Hunt for the end of the year, towards the playoff run?
Oh, I'm taking Spencer Ware for now.
Okay.
Not drafting for the end of the season. No, Spencer Ware is the guy now.
Okay.
So I'm taking him now.
All right, so in the first 6-7 games, he's averaging 10, 11, 12 points a game. Falls out of favor. He's a little, he gets hurt. He's out. Let's say Kareem Hunt's now the feature back. You're still going to pick that? I mean, you're playing for the playoffs, right? Isn't this about winning a championship?
It is, but why am I? Why that's to me that's dumb. Like, I'm going to take the sure thing. I want to win games right now, starting in week 1.
But is Spencer Ware that great?
I don't want to.
Where it's not even a thought that you'd rather have Kareem Hunt.
No, but he's good enough.
Good enough. Tell me what good enough is.
Good enough.
What kind of numbers do you expect from Spencer Ware?
I mean, so long as he doesn't get hurt, I mean, I think he could be a running back that goes for over 1,000 yards.
Okay. All right.
7-8 touchdowns.
If Kareem Hunt ends up taking over the main carries in week 12, 13, 11, somewhere around there, and he's getting 15, 16 carries, and if he can catch the ball, he's going to be featured even more, and he ends up helping people win a playoff game or two or take you to a championship, wouldn't you rather have that?
Well, if you want to carry him on your bench for 11 weeks, be my guest.
Well, I mean, that's what Jordan Howard was.
Oh, well.
Jordan Howard was really quiet for the first 3 or 4 weeks. I remember I drafted him, dropped him, and then picked him up, and then at least held me in it for a little while.
Yeah, but I think we were all there's a difference here. I think we were all kind of down on Kendall Langford, except for Todd.
Jeremy Langford.
Jeremy Langford. But we were all kind of down on him at the beginning of the season anyway, so you can almost see that one coming a little bit. This one, I don't know. I mean, Spencer Ware hasn't really done anything yet for you to say, oh, he's going to fall out of favor.
No.
Well, I mean, he fell out of favor by his production in the second half. It was not good.
I mean, it wasn't that terrible. He wasn't getting a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. I did see that, but I mean, he wasn't that bad.
So some of the things that people have said about Kareem Hunt, now this is not me, this is what I read in tweets and on fantasy magazines and web pages, is that Kareem Hunt has a similar game to Westbrook. Reed obviously loves guys like that. Obviously, there's that situation. I mean, Sharkandrick West is still in the picture. I don't know. He's
so what?
So there's that about Kareem Hunt. So if he kind of shows up, I mean, I have Spencer Ware much higher, but that's why the question was more geared to the end of the season. I mean, now Spencer Ware has dealt with concussion. He had concussions last year. He did have 27 rushes in the red zone, most of those coming in the first half of the season. 9 games, 56 yards, 3.7 yards per carry, and a touchdown. It's not spectacular.
No.
I mean, this Kareem Hunt could come in, take over. But what you're telling me is that you'd rather go for the now than for later.
Correct.
Todd, what do you think?
Oh, for the now, right now, especially in our league, no, you got to go for right now. I mean, if Kareem Hunt's still, if nobody drafts him and he's still just, hanging out on the waiver wire, and then like you said in the week 11 and 12, and he's still there. And for some reasons, Spencer Ware starts to decline a little bit or something like that, or gets out of favor, you get him there. But right now, if Spencer Ware can get you close to the promised land, then you go for the sure thing.
All right, so Spencer Ware, by far, not even close. Mikey laughing at me. Maybe I'll have him write the outline next time.
Oh.
All right, so let's go on to our game number 2, and how about some Game of Thrones games?
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, awesome season thus far. We won't spoil anything for you guys on here, but it's been a great season. All right, so you have 4 teams. Now, I'm going to have to explain this. You're going to have to pay attention out there in radio world or podcast world. You have 4 teams to choose from. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a football player name, and you got to put him in one of these categories of these 4 teams. So you have Team Jon Snow, which is the expectations are really low, but there's ability to finish incredibly high. So like a super sleeper. Jon Snow is a bastard, worked his way up. I won't tell you where he's at in the world, in case for those who are still behind on Game of Thrones, and if you're behind, that's your own fault. But so the expectations are low, but has a chance to finish really high. Super sleeper for Jon Snow. Then you have Team Theon Greyjoy, a guy that is going to disappoint you despite all the expectations that they have. Someone like a major bust guy. So Theon Greyjoy, major bust. Team Brienne of Tarth, someone who's steady, not going to wow you, but someone you can rely on. So kind of like an average player. Steady player is probably a better word. And then you have Team Cersei, who's everybody's favorite. Someone you want to stay as far away from as humanly possible, because if you do, your team's going to end up with a spike in its head at the end of the year. So Team Jon Snow, super sleeper. Okay. Theon Greyjoy, major bust. Brienne of Tarth, average, steady player. Team Cersei, just stay away from altogether.
All
okay,
right.
You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. So the first one is going to be Todd Gurley. Mikey, where would you put Todd Gurley in the team of Game of Thrones?
I'm going to put him in Team Jon Snow.
Okay, so low expectations, but incredibly high. Tell us why.
Well, I just think his level of talent, him being that good, he had such a bad year last year that he's going to go. He was overdrafted last year. He's going to go underdrafted this year, and I think it's going to be somewhere in between.
Okay.
So he's too talented to be as bad as he was last year. I think he's going to be better.
So last year, Todd Gurley finished 17th in our MHA rankings, 278 attempts. You like that number?
Yes.
885 yards, 6 touchdowns. Did have 43 receptions, which is not a bad number either. Todd, where would you put Todd Gurley?
I had him last year, and God damn it.
Burn Todd. Yeah. Cersei burning his ass.
Yeah.
So what team would you put?
Where would I put?
You're supposed to have this already done.
Well, I didn't have Todd
You're not supposed
Gurley.
to think about it now. You're supposed to have that done.
I didn't have Todd Gurley on there. I didn't have Todd Gurley.
It's underneath. Didn't I give you guys those names?
But no.
Yeah,
Todd.
it says number 1, Todd Gurley.
I didn't get number 1. I just got number 2. Carlos
okay.
Hyde.
All right, fine. So my
Gurley.
bad. Maybe it got cut off. But where would you put Gurley?
Okay, where do I put Gurley? I put average. I think he's just going to be average just because the way that Rams offense is. I mean, obviously they made huge splash getting Sammy Watkins, but I don't know how that's going to open the offense. So for right now, he's just average until they can get some balance in that offense.
Yeah, for Gurley, there's no backup worth putting on the field behind him. So I mean, he's going to get all the carries. He had 278 attempts last year, 229 in 2016. So they're going to give him the rock. Bad offense, but they do have a new coach. So you never know how that's going to come, but I kind of agree with Todd. More of a steady Eddie type of guy. Brienne of Tarth. Todd, we'll start with you. How about Carlos Hyde?
He's just steady because
another steady guy.
Yeah, just because he is injury prone, but he is the number 1 guy in San Francisco. But obviously that team, is in rebuilding mode. New regime and everything, and he's just going to be steady. So. Not too high of a ceiling, but just kind of steady where he could get you, 8 or 9 points at least, and you could be happy with that.
So Hyde finished 15th in our points last year, 217 attempts, close to 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 27 receptions. Did have 3 receiving touchdowns. Mikey, where would you put Carlos Hyde?
I have him also in the Jon Snow category. I think he's a little underrated.
Okay.
I think especially in that Shanahan offense, I think that you're going to see him gain a lot more yards on the ground. They're going to look for him in the red zone. I think in that offense, he's going to be up there in reception. So I really like him. It's not like they have a lot behind him. So
No, they don't.
Yeah, I like him. I put him in Team Jon Snow.
For Carlos Hyde and his receptions, 12 in 14 games, 11 in 7 games, and 27 in 13 games. So he's not a big catch guy to begin with. The one thing I keep hearing is that he's obviously from the previous regime. And there's a lot of talk that there's a chance he could be cut. Now, I don't agree that should be done, but there's something about him that people don't like. And I don't know what that is. I haven't been able to figure out if it's a work ethic thing, if it's something that he doesn't fit into Kyle Shanahan's offense. But where is this coming from?
Yeah, that. Wow.
That's what bothers me, and it's nothing I've seen on the field.
No, I heard that as like a first couple of days of training camp thing. But
Is that something just said to motivate him?
It's kind of died down a little bit. So
Okay.
I trust in the running backs coach, Bobby Turner, and what he can do with the running backs.
Former Broncos
That's right.
coach, for sure.
That's right.
Because you have to look at, too, the running backs behind Carlos Hyde. I mean, you have Hightower and you have that rookie Joe Williams who's been getting kind of I was hearing some buzz earlier in training camp. But, yeah, to some degree, you have no choice. I mean, Carlos Hyde is your best option at the time, right now.
So, 49ers, you mentioned Joe Williams in the fourth, Hightower in the mix. Did not rush for a touchdown after week 5. Although he ran for almost close to 1,000 yards, just 2 100 rush games. So it's interesting. He's just kind of one of those guys where I don't know where he's going to finish. So I put him in Theon Greyjoy. Could be a huge disappointment. I'm not going to say I'm not going to draft him. I think that at some point I probably have a little lower, but I just don't know. It's one of those. Let's see what happens in the preseason.
Now, in fairness to him, look at what he's done with the last two dum-dums he's had as the coach. He had Chip Kelly, and then he had old Tom Sula. So give the guy a break. He's actually got a smart mind that's going to be able to take advantage of his abilities now.
So I think the coaching staff will at least get the full potential out of him compared to the other two dum-dums, as you alluded to.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of dum-dums on the show. LeGarrette Blount. Mikey, what team would you put Blount in?
I'm going to put him in Brianna Tarth.
Okay.
He'll be steady. He'll get those touches in the red zone, so he'll still get his touchdowns. I think it's unreal to think that he's going to do what he did last year. That ain't happening. But he'll be all right.
Well, let me ask you this. For LeGarrette Blount, as I'm trying to find him on my list here, he got a lot of carries and ran for – I can't find him on my freaking list. Oh, here he is. He finished 7th in points, obviously the 18 touchdowns, but he ran for over 1,000 yards on 299 attempts.
Probably the first time
Something Mike Gillislee could do, by the way. But is he going to get that?
I don't think
Ryan
so.
Matthews is gone.
I don't think so.
No?
No.
So kind of give me a gauge on where you think you see his numbers at.
800 yards, maybe close to 10 touchdowns.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, but it's.
I mean, he's not going to catch the ball. He had 7 catches.
Yeah.
So you're not getting anything in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steady.
Steady Eddie. He's like in Brianna Tarth's team over here. What about you?
I think I think LeGarrette Blount's gonna be another sleeper again. He's gonna be a Jon Snow.
Snow?
Just because, I mean, obviously know what he did in New England. It's a different situation in Philadelphia. But, I think everybody kind of just looks at LeGarrette Blount and really doesn't think, okay, can he be all 3 down back? But obviously surprises everybody and scores 18 touchdowns. So, I think LeGarrette Blount will definitely surprise a lot of people in Philadelphia. Now, since really there's not a whole lot of competition really behind him too, because they cut Ryan Matthews. I mean, obviously I don't know if Ryan Matthews is really competition anyway. But I think LeGarrette Blount's going to be the full-time back, and a lot of people are going to probably draft him late, and then whoever gets him late, is going to get a good running back.
I think the Ryan Matthews cutting, because Ryan Matthews, I know he wasn't great, but he scored 8 touchdowns for this team. They gave him every opportunity, averaged close to 4.4 yards per carry. With him being cut, and I'm not a big Wendell Smallwood fan. I know that's a guy they drafted last year to kind of come in and do things. Darren Sproles, the guy's going to catch passes, but this offense is an up-and-coming offense.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to give LeGarrette Blount more opportunities. I had Blount as Brianna Tarth, but after the Ryan Matthews thing, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a Jon Snow type of situation where people aren't going to think about him. They're going to be like, oh, he's not New England anymore. They don't score as many points. And Philadelphia's not going to score as many points.
No, because
But they're still going to score points. And I think with, the receiving core that got a little bit better and with, Carson Wentz playing a little bit better, I think you're right. I think he'll end up surprising a lot of people.
Yeah, because, like I said, there's nobody else really behind him to push LeGarrette. Well, obviously hope he still has that work ethic to be a good running back. But there's not anybody really, competition-wise. Like, I think in Philadelphia they're really saying, like, this is, like, you're the guy. You're going to help our young quarterback, get over the hump. So I think LeGarrette Blount for sure. Like I said, 18 touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be 18.
No one's banking on 18.
No
one's banking on 18.
I think the most of anything, I say 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Say 10 touchdowns.
I'm agreeing with Todd, so we need to move on because
Okay.
it's really scaring the shit out of me right
Okay.
now. Todd, Jacquizz Rodgers.
Okay, I think he's going to be another Jon Snow.
Okay.
Just because obviously Doug Martin's going to be sidelined for a few games, so he's one of those backs that obviously catches the ball as well too. Obviously, the way that offense now is constructed now, with obviously Deshaun Jackson in there, kind of open it up a little bit. Jameis Winston does like throwing the ball a little bit around. Obviously, only last year, only rushing two touchdowns, only 13 receptions. Not great, but now I think just coming into the season this year, obviously since he'll probably be the primary back for a little bit, I think he can definitely get you. I think he can get you 10 to 11 points, just because the way that offense is constructed. Because I always base it off this too, is the fact of how the offenses are constructed. What's with the wide receiver core and the quarterback, and that's I think how it affects the running back in some degree. If you have a crappy, wide receiver core and mediocre quarterback, that's going to affect the running back, just i.e. Todd Gurley. So I think you got to look at that, and obviously Tampa Bay is up and coming as well too. So definitely, and because let's face it, Jameis Winston, is definitely, he's definitely a running quarterback you can run on, and that helps Rodgers. That helps him with his catches and his carries.
Mikey Renaud, what do you say about Jacquizz Rodgers?
Struggled with it, but Brianna Tarth. I mean, I'm not willing to say that he's a Jon Snow, that he's a super sleeper. I say enjoy it while it lasts.
So are you saying that, because obviously he's going to play the first 3 games, Doug Martin suspended, you're not worried? I mean, you're worried that Doug Martin's going to come back and take over that spot.
Yeah, and if not, I think it's going to be a share.
Okay. There's a lot of talks. I mean, who knows what coaches say at this point, if they mean anything. Their head coach said that it may not be his starting job even when he comes back.
And it might not be, but I've seen Jacquizz Rodgers play his whole career. He's an average player.
Sure.
There's no game-breaking ability there.
I mean, he's been on 3 teams in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So he comes in, doesn't do much, and is let go.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
But I think and I agree with Todd in terms of the Jon Snow, but it's more about where he's being drafted. So if he's being drafted as the 50th best running back, and he ends up putting up 25 to 30 in terms of where he ends up finishing, if he's a steady Eddie, even if he's splitting carries, I think that kind of puts him in that Jon Snow range. I mean, if you're drafting him as a top 30 running back, then I think that's super disappointing. But if you're drafting him as a 50, because I don't think a lot of people are even thinking about Jacquizz Rodgers. They think, unless they're listening to the same podcast or reading the same stuff we are, they're going to be like, oh, Doug Martin will be back. I'm not even going to waste a pick on Jacquizz Rodgers. But if you're saying that he's going to be split with carries, and we're saying I think he probably – I mean, last year, I read it, what is it here? Martin averaged less than 3 yards per carry. So, I mean, so he could come in and take over that starting role. Is he going to do a lot?
I don't
Probably not a ton.
I mean, he's not going to put up Doug Martin numbers when Doug Martin's at his best, but
I don't really like either of them anyway, just because I think that's more of a passing offense, and I think you're going to see even more of that with Winston and with Jackson and with Howard and with Evans, Cameron Brate. I think it's going to be more of a passing offense than a running offense anyway. And when that starts happening, that's when Charles Sims starts getting involved.
All right. So let's see. So good things about Jacquizz Rodgers. All right. How about Rob Kelly? Mikey, a lot of thoughts or a lot of coaches or the pub around the fantasy world is that he is the starting running back as of today. What do you think about Rob Kelly?
He is as of today, and I gave him the Brianna Tarth recognition as well.
Okay.
Steady Eddie. Rob Kelly's the starter. But again, Washington's one of those teams that constantly throws the ball. And so Rob Kelly's not always on the field. That puts Chris Thompson on the field. So the situation is very similar to Tampa Bay. So, yeah, Todd's shaking his head, which I'm sure that means Todd's going to have him in the Jon Snow category, but I don't see it.
No, stay the hell away from him. He Cersei's all the friggin' way. No, because actually I even have the rookie that's Samai Pirine that they drafted from Oklahoma. I think they're talking about him ultimately taking over that spot because he's more of an all-purpose type back, even jumping Chris Thompson too. So no, Kelly, no.
Ball security with him though. I've been hearing that all preseason.
Yeah,
that dude cannot hold on to the ball.
He'll get the nerves out. Don't worry about that. But no, Rob, or Fat Rob is the nicknames they call. No, Cersei's all the way. No, sorry.
So Team Cersei. Wow.
No, godly. No.
So for Rob Kelly last year, averaged 4.2 yards per carry. Had 704 yards on 168 attempts. I kind of had him in the Cersei category just for the fact that I agreed with Mikey where I think Chris Thompson's going to play a huge role. I think P. Ryan's going to come in, take some of his carries away. It's enticing to have a starting running back. Again, it's value and based on where you draft him. And I think a lot of people are going to see that he's a starting running back, draft him in the top 30 somewhere, and I think that's too high. And with all those other factors, as you mentioned, a lot of passing is going to happen in there more than the running is going to happen. You have other guys pushing him. I don't think the Redskins specifically love Rob Kelly, but they're using him because he's a little more informed with the offense. He only had 12 catches last year. Ugh. Yeah. An offense that's going to run, Chris Thompson, P. Ryan, I think is going to get more of it. So I put him in kind of the Team Cersei category. Okay, keeping rolling here. We kind of talked about Derrick Henry. We're going to skip him.
Good, because he's in the Cersei category.
Todd, where did you have Henry? Just quickly.
I had him in the Tarth, just average.
Me and Todd have been agreeing way too much.
I know.
This is scary.
Yeah.
All right, how about Theo Riddick? That seems to be one that's kind of been jumbled all over the place. Mikey, what team do you have him on?
I have him in the Jon Snow category. I love Theo Riddick.
Preach it, brother.
Preach
it, brother. Love it.
Take a look at Theo Riddick the last 2 years. So, okay, he got more of the share of the running last year because Amir Abdullah can't stay healthy, which I don't see why you can trust Amir Abdullah to stay healthy this year either. But you basically know he's going to get, 60 catches from a running back. I'll take that all day in PPR. So, yeah, he's in my Jon Snow category.
Yeah. Todd?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Mikey. Oh dear Lord. I agree with him because again, Stafford likes to throw the ball around, and they don't have a bruising back, much. So they get a scat back that's that can can kind of run between the tackles, but also catch the ball too. So theoretic, definitely. I wouldn't draft him very high, but if I could get him in the 8th round, that'd be kind of a good.
I think you're going to have to go higher than that.
Wow, even high? What, the 6th or 5th round? No. That high?
Well, you're talking about the depth of running backs, and depending on where you have him ranked is going to dictate on where you're going to have to draft him. If you have him in the top 25 to 30, then yeah, it's going to be around that 5th, 6th round. Because people are going to take chances on running backs if people don't feel comfortable. Looking at some of his stats, while he only had 92 attempts rushing for 357 yards, he did have 53 catches for 5 touchdowns. He was on his way. He was on his way to 80 catches before injuries. He had 80 the previous year, coming off surgery on both of his wrists, but he says he feels fine. He had 9 games of 4 or more catches. Last year, he had 11 games of 4 or more catches in the 17 games played. So I agree. I had Theo Riddick and the Jon Snow. I don't think he's getting a lot of – I mean, I don't know what the Amir Abdullah love is all about other than he averaged out close to, I think it was like 5.7 yards per carry in his rookie year. But that was it.
People remember he had that one big play in the preseason 2 years ago.
Yeah, or maybe they think his ceiling's higher. Maybe, I don't know.
Last year, the Lions rushed the ball 30th, but passed 11th.
Yeah.
So Theo Riddick seems like he'd be the guy. Keeping it rolling, Todd, where do you have Giovanni Bernard? What team? What Game of Thrones team?
Right now, I have him just average. Tarth, just because we know.
Mikey is shaking
I know.
his head.
I know. This
Already.
This is.
He doesn't even have him ranked. In fact, he's probably got him 100.
Probably.
That's how much he loves Giovanni Bernard.
Just because of what the committee is in there, and I mean, obviously, I think the Bengals are maybe crossing their fingers that Joe Nixon does win that job, and that might, push back Bernard. But Bernard will still probably get some. Will probably still get some carries, and I mean, he does catch the football, so that's something like you said, Eric. I mean, some. Especially in our league, they'll, the owners they'll pick him just because he is a PPR, type running back. But yeah, he's just going to be average because if Joe Nixon just pretty much takes over that role, that might even push Jeremy Hill back as well too. So obviously Jeremy Hill might get the goal line carries, but even he has some issues too. Last season, but yeah, I think Bernard's just going to be just average, and to some degree, if you draft him, you'll just use him like if one of your type running backs is on a bye. That's it.
So Todd is saying Brianna Tarth for Giovanni Bernard, and I'm going to assume you're going to say Team Cersei over here.
Yeah, I couldn't really say Greyjoy because you can't be a bust when you don't have expectations for a guy. So. Yeah, he's Team Cersei. I told you last year he was in a bad spot, and he was. It's even worse this year with Mixon there. So, yeah, I'm completely staying away from him. Nope, don't want him.
Stay away from him. Last year, you finished 41st in points, 337 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Did have 39 catches for 336 yards. Only played in 10 games. I kind of have him in the Team Cersei category as well. The thing that kind of changes this is that apparently he's 100% now. We were talking a couple weeks ago that he was coming off ACL. So that's going to raise him in my rankings a little bit. But, I mean, so for him to be ready by week 1, I guess we can talk about it now. I know we're kind of up to about an hour right now. But, I mean, the way that they're talking right now, it's Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard, and Joe Mixon in that order on the depth chart. Does that still not change anything for you in terms of how those guys are ranked?
No, because they use them for different things. So Bernard is still going to be third down catch guy. Jeremy Hill's probably going to be red zone guy. And then maybe Mixon, which I'm hearing positive pub on him, is probably in between the 20s guy. So they each have their thing doing well. I don't like Gio Bernard, okay?
Yeah, we know. You went to North Carolina and you just can't stand North Carolina. But, I mean, I get it. But, I mean, if you get his average before last year, I mean, you could even put his average, I guess. But let's say you get 50 catches and 700 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. That's still something you wouldn't want?
I don't see any way he's getting 700 yards rushing.
Why not?
Because, like I'm telling you, there's too many mouths to feed in there. There's no way he's getting enough carries to get to 700 yards.
So do you not see a scenario where Jeremy Hill is just terrible? He's not averaging anywhere near 4 yards a carry. Joe Mixon could get in trouble. I mean, he's still a rookie, so he's not going to come in and just be fantastic.
It's not going to be me.
It's not going to be you. He's staying away from him. All right, last guy, and this is an interesting one. A lot of interesting talk about Ty Montgomery. Green Bay Packers score a lot of points. There's talks that he came into camp more bulked up to be a running back this year. So, Todd, what team do you have him on?
Oh, Jon Snow. I mean, first of all, he's attached. Montgomery's attached to Aaron Rodgers, and any player I think attached to Aaron Rodgers is going to do very well. And the fact that he's a converted wide receiver, that obviously just makes him a PPR, gift from God. So
A gift from God.
a gift from God. Yeah, it's a little dramatic there, but it's
A little.
Yeah, a little. Like you put God in there. No, but I just think now because he can, they needed to convert him to a running back, obviously, just because the running back situation wasn't the greatest. So I think, as I said, I think if anything, Ty Montgomery is going to go in the second round. He's gonna go.
Don't tell me where you think he's gonna go. Tell me where you think he should go. Not as what the overall consensus is. Where would you take him?
Where would I take him? I take him in the second round.
Okay, so kind of give me, guys. Tell me who you have ranked ahead of him and who you have ranked behind him.
So I have ahead of Montgomery. So I have Mark Ingram, Jay Ajayi, Lamar Miller, Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley.
Okay.
And I'm just basing it off because I think some of those guys are going to be gone before. Those guys are going to be gone before Ty Montgomery because I have Montgomery 13th.
All right. So Todd saying Ty Montgomery is Team Jon Snow. Do you agree with him?
I don't.
Okay.
I have him as Theon Greyjoy.
Okay.
I'm a little worried about this convert the wide receiver to running back thing and hope it works. Put on weight. I think it changes the player. So
you would have almost preferred him to stay in his regular shape that he was last year and be a running back.
It was effective.
Okay.
So yeah, I do have my concerns about that, and so I think he's being a little overhyped for a team that passes all the time, especially. So I don't know. I'm just not buying into it.
But for a player that used to be a wide receiver and just and all he has to just change is just handing the ball off. He can still catch passes. It's not like just because he turned into a running back doesn't mean he can't stop catching passes.
Yeah, but you're talking about somebody that's never played running back before.
I mean, I've never played football my entire life, but I'm thinking running back isn't that difficult a position to convert to. Compared to maybe like a running back to a wide receiver, but they're pretty much almost the same. All you have to do is just make sure when Aaron Rodgers hands you off the ball.
Okay, so how confident are they going to be in him protecting Aaron Rodgers, if a blitz is coming?
Well, if you said he's bulked up, then that gives him a little bit of advantage there to pass protect. And I think he knows. Let's put it this way: Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You don't think he's not in Ty Montgomery's ear? Like, listen, all right, you're a running back now. You better protect me. And you don't think Ty Montgomery doesn't go like, I don't care. I'm gonna do whatever I want. No, he's like, no, I will make sure I protect you.
I don't know. I just something worries me about it. I just don't see it.
I also put him in the Greyjoy category, not because I don't think he can be good. Because people are drafting him in the second or third round. I don't know if it's second round, but I think he's being drafted too high, considering the other options that are around him that I would prefer to have. Just some of the stats from Montgomery last year. He finished 36th in our scoring last year, 77 carries, 457 yards. He did average close to 6 yards per carry. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 44 receptions, 348 yards. He had just 5 games of 10-plus points. Including the postseason. Two of those 10 or 10-plus games came when he had 10-plus receptions. So that's huge. So you're talking about 44 catches. More than 20 of those came in 2 games. So the catches weren't as high as maybe the 44 represents. In weeks 6 through 17, which is obviously more playoffs involved that we like, he did have 42% of the running back touches, although he only had 1 game with 10-plus carries. So maybe at that point they kind of abandoned the running game and threw to him more? Or is it a situation where they just didn't feel confident in him running the ball? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, they obviously told him to bulk up to be a better running back this year. I don't know. I don't know what to think about him, honestly. I don't know. And if I don't know, I want better options that I'm more confident in. So I put him in Theon Greyjoy's class because I think a lot of people are super high on him because you're right. If you're connected, unless you're Olivia Munn, if you're connected to Aaron Rodgers, a lot of chance scoring is going to happen. but I don't know if I put him in that class with so many options.
That's a little high.
Nah, I don't know. I mean, I have him kind of 16th right now, behind Danny Woodhead and ahead of Christian McCaffrey.
So where would you guys?
So-
Where would you draft him? I said second. So where would you draft him?
At the earliest, depending on my situation, end of the third. So, I mean, I'm drafting 4th overall. So it almost have to be maybe in the 4th. And it'd have to be depending on my running back situation.
Mikey?
You don't want to know where he is on my list.
Well, I guess it's lower.
Yeah, I guess it's
So in my situation, it would probably be 5th or 6th round.
You think he would last that long though?
No.
But that's the
Yeah.
point of the
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
point of the game. Is that people are like, the expectations are so high, we think he's going to disappoint. So, all right, so we're kind of up over an hour. So we're going to go through this pretty quick. So we want to finish this. The next game. So WTF on the ADP. I'm going to name a person and where they are going in average draft positions, and this is from Fantasy Pros. You tell me if it's too high, too low, or right on the mark. So give me some of your quick thoughts, and we got to move on because we're already pretty high over an hour here. All right, so in the first one is Joe Mixon. He is the 16th running back being drafted. So behind Isaiah Crowell and in front of Carlos Hyde. Mikey, is that too high, too low, or right on the mark?
Too high. I have him behind both those guys. I
Okay.
explained I like Carlos Hyde. I do like Isaiah Crowell, too. Joe Mixon, I just kind of want to – he's in prove-it territory for me.
Okay, Todd?
Yeah, too high.
Too high. All right. Number 2, Adrian Peterson going 26th running back overall behind Eddie Lacy in front of Doug Martin. Mikey, too high, too low, or right on the mark?
It's right on the mark. However, I have him ahead of both of those two.
Okay, so you're saying the 26th is the number that's not right.
No, the 26 is the number I think that is right. I just
Okay.
think those other two guys should both be behind him.
Wow. Okay. Todd, what do you think?
I say right on the mark. I mean, I wanted to say low, but it's Adrian Peterson, and I think it's right. I think it's right on the mark because Eddie Lacy, you don't know if he's gonna. He said he's getting in shape, but you don't know if those cheeseburgers are knocking at his door at 3:00 in the morning. And Doug Martin, you know, obviously he's suspended for the first 3 games, so you might as well go with a kind of a injure sure thing Hall of Famer first.
What are you talking about? Injure?
I'm just
Is that
saying.
some sort of like protein chocolate milk drink that they...
Just injury-prone type Hall of Famer. Just go on to the next running back, please.
Well, yeah, Adrian Peterson, way too mother flipping high. Way too high. That's beyond ridiculous. I think, honestly, in my opinion, they'll use him very sparingly and keep him for the playoffs. Bilal Powell, the 30th running back going. He's behind Paul Perkins, in front of Derrick Henry. Todd, where is it too high, too low, around the mark?
Too low, because that's all the Jets' offense is going to be, Bilal Powell and Matt Forte. So even though Bilal Powell kind of catches a little bit more passes than Matt Forte now, but look at that Jets offense. They got straight garbage. So no, it's too low. People are going to draft Powell a lot higher.
Well, I don't want to know what people... I want to know what you think.
What do I think of?
I don't care what the other people are. But, so you're saying it's too high or too low?
It's too low.
Okay. Mikey?
For me, 30 is about right. It's right around where I had him. But I would put him ahead of both Paul Perkins, so you know how I feel about, and Derrick Henry, who you also know how I feel about.
For sure. I mean, I have him 35th, so it's pretty much right on the market. Number 4, Terrence West. He is the 43rd running back behind Latavius Murray in front of C.J. Procise. Mikey?
It's perfect.
Perfect. All right. I think it's too low. I think Terrence West is not getting enough love here in the early going. We kind of talked about Spencer Ware, 18th running back behind Carlos Hyde in front of Ty Montgomery. Todd, too high, too low, right on the mark?
For Ty Montgomery?
No, Spencer Ware.
Oh, Spencer Ware.
So 18th running back overall behind Carlos Hyde in front of Ty Montgomery, at least in Fantasy Pros.
So 18th. Just right.
Okay, Mikey?
Well, I guess that's fine. I have him a little bit higher than that, but it's okay.
I had him a little lower. I had him around 23. So, I mean, but it's not off that much. So I'll say just about right. Number 6, Lamar Miller. This was one of Mikey's second-round pick last year. He's going as the 12th running back overall, behind Marshawn Lynch and in front of Christian McCaffrey. Mikey, what do you say about Lamar Miller?
Can't put him behind Marshawn Lynch.
That's not me. This is the average ADP. Don't yell at me. I'm just the messenger.
Number 12, that's just about right. But I'm putting him in front of Marshawn Lynch and in front of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Todd.
Yeah, I actually a little bit low. I think he's a little bit higher. I would draft him. I would draft him in front of Marshawn Lynch and McCaffrey. So I think 12 is a little too low.
Can you tell me where you have Lamar Miller?
I have Lamar Miller number 10.
Okay, so it's close.
Yeah.
It's pretty close. Okay, so that is the running back talk there. A lot of good stuff, a lot of interesting talk. I know we were trying to talk about finding a board bet. What did we say about Paul Perkins? You said you had him 40th? Is that where you said you had him at? Is that the
41st.
41st? He'll be better than 41st. Do you want to make that board bet?
Well, I don't want to make it based on a number. We got to choose a player and compare the two.
Why?
Because that's...
If you have him 40th or 41st, and I think he's going to do better than that.
Well, who's a player that you've got like almost directly in front of that?
Around 41st?
Yeah.
I have Rob Kelly 41st.
Okay, so that's the board bet. I say Rob Kelly finishes ahead of Paul Perkins.
Okay, let me see. Yeah, okay. I'll go with that.
Okay.
All right, so that's the second board bet, and hopefully we'll have at least one more to kind of break the tie if we're like at 1-1 and kind of follow along through the season. We do have another show, the quarterback and the tight end show, and if we have enough time, we'll do another show. It'll kind of be our pre-draft show. We'll see how everything goes. My work's obviously getting a little bit more busy with the season coming up. We'll see if we can make it happen. Okay, so the last thing we do before we get out of here, team names for NWA who finished dead last, had 3 wins last year. Anybody have any good names that stand out?
I mean, Broncos #1 fan. That doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's basic.
It's kind of vanilla, or Broncos bitch. I don't know.
I like that one.
The Broncos bitch. Some of the ones I had was Raiders go luck yourselves. I thought that was something interesting. Brady Gaga, another one I thought that was funny. The abusement park. So where do you go, to beat the shit out of someone in the abusement park? I don't know. I thought that's something I'd never seen before. But that's all I really had. So I think we need to work on it.
Yeah.
We got to come up with a good name. So
we got to do something with the tuck rule. That'd be pretty funny.
Okay, so keep an eye on something with the tuck rule.
Yeah, just because that pretty much.
How do we incorporate? Well,
I don't know how much he loves Oakland, but you could always just kind of be funny with it and call him Viva Las Vegas.
There you go. I think he's excited about that, though.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think he's upset that they're moving. It sounds like he's on board from what I get. So we'll look that up. All right, so we're over an hour. We're about an hour and 25 minutes, if I did my math correctly. But I went to Metro, so it probably wasn't. Yeah. So a lot of good running back talk. We're going to try to do a quarterback show along with tight ends. The draft is 2 weeks away. You got excited. Live draft. We're going to be at the rack. I have it all scheduled out. No one's gotten back to me if they want to do a potluck, so I might be just doing pizza like we did last year. So, are you guys excited?
Yeah, absolutely.
I am. How about I'm just here because I finished last in the league?
That's not bad, although it's super long.
Yeah.
But that's pretty clever for Marshawn Lynch, all that fun stuff. That's not bad. So we got to figure a way to make that smaller. All right, so guys, owners, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you listening. Hopefully we brought you some good information and some laughs. We will see you next time on the MHA podcast. We'll see you next time.